Dear Venerable Sir, Dhamma friends, today we have a little change in our schedule as well as the timetable. Accordingly, this hour, usually we have allocated for Dhamma discussion, will be used for the Dhamma talk, and immediately we will go for the discussion, so that there won't be a talk at 8 o'clock tonight, because today is the day monks are entering into the rainy retreat, so there's a gathering over there. So during that time there may be a video or DVD, something relevant to the practice will be running, so everyone can get together and go to observe it. So now it's the time for Dhamma talk. To start the Dhamma talk, everyone may consent 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. King pana uso patipada jnana dassana visuddhatthaṃ bhagavati brahmacharyang ussati no hitaṃ ausoti ti. Dear Dhamma friends, today is our 7th day and this is the 7th Dhamma talk. So yesterday I miscalculated, I thought yesterday is the 5th day, but I have to make the correction. Yesterday was the 6th day, 6th talk, and today is the 7th day, and according to the 7th talk, as you all already know, that we have taken this Rathavinitha Sutta, the relay chariots, as the main theme, and based upon that, we are on a series of Dhamma talks. Today is the 7th, and as this discourse continues, keep on Venerable Thariputta is questioning from Venerable Punnamantaniputta some kind of leading questions, and answers also accordingly comes from the Venerable Punnamantaniputta. So yesterday the question was, is it for the sake of purification by knowledge and vision of knowing the path and non-path you are living this holy life under the Buddha? But today, same format in the question, it being that is it for the sake of purification by knowledge and the vision of the course of the practice, or the way that you are living this whole life under the omniscient one. In Pali it is called Patipada Jnana Dassana Visuddhi. That means now only the practitioner really come into the highway, the motorway. So far he is reaching with the other small paths, and now entering into the highway or motorway, and then onward it is no much of a friction, and come up to that level there were a lot of hurdles, bottlenecks, and everyone was, as we discussed yesterday also, they are temporarily make tests as to whether the yogi is qualified to come into this highway. So in this Magga Jnana Dassana Visuddhi, it is a rather repetition of the same and practicing for the sake of mastery. So therefore nothing new, but mastery is going on. Again and again, if there are any other small things to be fulfilled, everything be fulfilled and leveled evenly in this path. So therefore, then onward, the yogi, the practitioner, has a clear chance or clear opportunity whether he or she wish to proceed according to the experiences gathered here and there in a systematic way, and or in a sense full-time basis, or to withdraw back. So therefore it is called Therana Parinya, that the full knowledge by analytical knowledge. So therefore the commentator says when someone is advancing, when someone is uplifting one's spirituality, there are three layers known as Jnata Parinya, Tirana Parinya and Pahana Parinya. That means full knowledge of full knowledge by knowing, full knowledge by investigation, and the full knowledge by abandoning, discarding. So up to the Magga Magga Jnana Dasana Visuddhi, the particular yogi theoretically come into being that the main thing is the meditation in this spiritual life, and for the meditation you must understand basics regarding the impermanent nature, the suffering nature, and the soullessness nature, and it needs the moral training, concentration training, and the wisdom training. When it is happening, the meditation is progressing, these things are happening like I come to understand theoretical knowledge or book knowledge. That is called Jnata Parinya, that is completely worldly knowledge. So when that happens, acquired, one know whether yogi, male or female, give a second thought as to whether this kind of endeavorance is helpful for my well-being or not. So that is called Tirana Parinya, or deductive knowledge, or analytical understanding. When someone come to know this is something valuable, this is I have to do, and it is worthwhile, kind of deduced like that, he or she develop the resolute faith or workable faith to put oneself into practice. So after the Magga Magga Jnana Dasana Visuddhi, all the bottlenecks, the hurdles are given for someone to make that decision. Am I really in a position to go advance, thinking this is for my real well-being, and there is no second person, only it is up to myself. If someone is really looking forward, this decision, the deductive knowledge is very important. For that only the Magga Magga Jnana Dasana Visuddhi, understanding the path and non-path. So once understood, he or she start the real abandonment, real relinquishment, slowly going to happen. But it is not due to someone's command or someone's pressure, but it is coming within from the experience one gain from this theoretical understanding, deductive knowledge, and one's own practice. So therefore, then onward, now gain the knowledge regarding the path leading to the destiny. So that is the where the vipassana is now in the full-fledged and called higher degree vipassana, or you are in the motorway. Now it is in the main track. So there onward, nothing new, but exactly the thing happened so far, going to happen in the regular way, in a gathering momentum and the faster rate. Because by now each and everyone has their own ways and means how to bring the mindfulness whenever it is dropped. How to repair and bring the concentration up to a certain level whenever it is going down, and all the kind of thing comes to know. So this is directly you can discuss in terms of the primary object. Even the primary object is very subtle and even not perceivable. No one at that level, the yogi is not going to entertain any doubts as to what to do next, and or not letting the mind to fall into sleep or agitation. So we develop kind of a maturity, patience and the equanimity, and let that subtlety be one's own second nature. So whenever someone is having that kind of a equanimous approach to the subtlety, you are going very deeper into this the inner space, something like that the scientists are exploring into the dark matter. It is not an accident, no more an accident to go into it. So when it is happening, a kind of a immediacy, kind of a proximity going to happen. Up to now, the yogi comes to know whatever the object, whether it's in-breath or out-breath, or rising and falling, or left and the right, or in the day-to-day activities, each and every phenomena, mental or physical, has the beginning, the middle and the end. So, whenever you learn the art, irrespective of your posture, whatever the object you take under the light of mindfulness, you develop the habit of seeing the beginning, the middle and the end. But at the beginning, you see the object as an agglomeration, as a compiled thing. More and more you become immediate, more and more become close with the object, the agglomeration going to disintegrate, dismantle, and then bound to see within one action there are tiny little 1001 little actions. For example, within one in-breath, 1001 little in-breaths. And out-breath also not a single pile, one thing, it's an agglomeration. So more close observation you are bound to see. More and more you see particles, each and every particle, there is a beginning, the middle and the end. So phenomena become very, very swift, very, very fast. It is gathering the momentum, and the mind, reinforced with the mindfulness, also come with in par with the speed of the object. So both of them come each other together and gather the momentum. Ultimately, when come to this knowledge of the course of practice, you are bound to see, due to this fast, swift nature, more than the beginning, more than the end, the just disappearance going to become more prominent. For an example, it says if you throw a handful of mustard seeds to a red hot plate, soon each and every seed touch the plate, they split into. They burst into, something like that. Or if you throw little water to a red hot iron plate, as and when the water goes there, with a kind of a crispy noise, everything disappears and becoming a smoke. Something like when the momentum gathered, you are bound to see the disappearing part. So that is the way the yogi going to see the advancement of the meditation. For when that happens, people go, those who are going with preparedness, they can cater for, but some people still develop kind of a doubts or fearfulness, or sometimes backwardness going to happen. But whether you withdraw from the meditation or not, even at the bed, we are about to sleep, whatever the object you are going to see, that is that kind of a observation of the end of the phenomena becoming very, 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 very prominent. So in the sitting, it will be well accelerated and you can monitor in the fairly under your control. But in the walking meditation and even in the sitting, the day-to-day activities, you are bound to see the situation go beyond control. Like it is gathering the momentum, something like a tornado or like a typhoon. It's going to appear like a devastating, going to gather the momentum. So when that happens, that is nothing new, but is the very immediate observation and the gathering the momentum. Therefore, within this particular purification, there are a lot of separate insight knowledges are being recognized. The very first one is known as Bhanga Jnana, that is the break off. Everything appear to be bursting off, the disappearance, end of the phenomena become very prominent. And when that happens, there is kind of a correlation of the three character types going to have three different interpretations or three different views, three different facets. Those who are more with the perception, they see just bursting. Everything is bursting, and then they fail to see a heap, a unity, unit. Everything appear to be small particle. Each and every particle, soon you see it disappears. So that is the way the people with the perception going to understand. But those who are with the hedonic or pleasure-seeking kind of thing, they read it as a fear. Everything is disappearing in such a way, such a volatile way, they feel like baselessness. They develop fear, and so they also sometimes, whenever the fear become overwhelming, they step back like. And those who are with the volitional type, they see the flaws, the consequences. Whatever we are trusted upon, we were planning and we were programming and future plan, everything is under the same fate. So they also going to see the consequence, the flaws of the phenomena. So likewise, these whenever the speeding up happens, according to the character type, different people interpret it in a different way. So therefore, even though in the linear presentation, these three knowledges, Bhanga Jnana, Bhaya Jnana, Adinava Jnana being lined up, it does not indicate each and everyone has to go through them in an equal weight. Some people, according to their character trait, some people are more will talk about this phenomena in terms of Bhanga, the dissolution. Some may see in terms of fear, Bhaya Jnana. The other will see Adinava Jnana, understanding the flow, the flows or disadvantages. So each and everyone, every knowledge has the double-edged nature. If you are not prepared, it will be fearful. You will be withdrawing. But the thing is, whether you meditate or not, that is going to happen. So therefore, you have to somehow or the other face it. So under such circumstances, if there is no proper background or association and the teachers kind of thing, you may try to find many escapism to escape from that, and therefore you will develop kind of unhappiness with the teacher. The teacher also will appear not much attractive, and whatever you are going to say, the teacher will say, please carry on, this is the way and kind of thing. Ultimately you will understand, no, he is not going to understand me, I am in such a situation, I can't sleep. Even I go to the sleeping bed, there this dissolution going to happen. Soon I close my eyes, even before the primary object going to happen, this dissolution going to happen. When I am eating, that is going to happen. When I am going to bed, that is going to happen. So he feel that something wrong in the psychology or something like that, they get upset. Some other people develop kind of a fear. Wherever it goes, it appear like the dangerous, and some other people says some other type going to say the flaws or disadvantages. So they feel the lethargic, don't develop any kind of a creativity or productivity. Whatever we are going to do, everything is are going to end up with the same kind of disadvantages or flaws. So therefore, when a meditator is undergoing that kind of a situation, the teachers has to really take care about them, because otherwise they will rush to quick decisions, and then if they are going to change the place, change the teacher, change the meditation technique, what happens is that momentum will be disturbed. So therefore, every private decision is to break the momentum, knowingly or unknowingly. So if someone can maintain it continuously, the particular person have so much of maturity to withstand. So therefore, in this junction, your cognition, the knowledge, has to compare it with, or do in a reciprocal way, interchangeable way with your morality. If you have a good moral background or discipline, then you can make up your mind and continue. So therefore, cognitive understanding and the cognitive decisions is playing a critical the role here, and more you become an easy person to restrain yourself in terms of the morality, in terms of your senses, in terms of your the moral fear and the moral shame. The hardships are less. But you are going to do only by the cognitive kind of thing, without any changing or behavioral changes, very difficult to go through. So this, in the Western world, they have coined the term that behavioral medicine is specifically in the medical field. The allopathic method completely went by chemicals, but ultimately now they have come to a junction, just by simple chemicals and the operations, very difficult to do. The yogi's mental background or immunity is quite crucial. For that, if they are going to have the same feeding habit, the same other behavioral pattern, whatever the chemicals or the operational changes, surgical changes, won't give a lasting answer. The yogi has to reconsider their feeding habit, their other behavioral thing. Then only they can have a lasting results from this medical health. So therefore they are talking about the behavioral medicine. Exactly in the meditation also, you have to think about, it's called Ahara Vihara Manovyapara. Ahara means your feeding habit. How much it is you have to balance to have the moderate feeding for your better health. And the Vihara, your postures. How can you adjust yourself for the better health, mental and physical. Manovyapara, your thinking pattern. Whether you are concerned or not previously, now you have to be very sensitive to the environment. You have to be very sensitive to the fellow beings right now. If they are going to give a bad impression or any kind of a disagreement or misunderstanding, definitely you have to suffer in the sitting. If the others also in a neutral basis have a fair relationship, you find no much of a friction in sitting. So therefore, ahara, vihara, manovyapara, that means your feeding habit, your postures, that means day-to-day activity, and your relationship with the outside people, it become a very open, wide open issue. But it is giving an opportunity rather than imprisonment. So being a human, you must have the malleability to adjust into, in order to maximize this cognitive progress. So cognitively, you have to adjust yourself. You must adjust yourself according to the environmental situation given, so that you can maximize the efficiency of the mindfulness, the efficiency in the concentration, and the progress will be undisturbed. So you may sometimes change the timetable. You may change your sleeping habit. You may change your feeding habit and exercises and all the kind of thing. The teacher no more can help you, but the teaching, the book knowledge, theoretical knowledge, and the role models, everyone will help up to the Magga Jnana Dassana Visuddhi to understand the path and non-path. Whenever the Patipada Jnana Dassana Visuddhi going to happen, that means you are now reaching to the way, the path leading to the destiny. You must be very sensitive to, in the sense to your body knowledge. You must not impose self-mortification. So those who are with the perception type may go to extremes. So they have to understand the body must be in the balance in health, physical and mental. So you must not go for luxuries, or other side you must not go for self-mortification. The balancing happen. This balancing also never happen overnight. You have to apply again and again with your basic under the nose experience, and apply again and again, see what is going to give the maximum efficiency in the mindfulness and the concentration and proximity to the object. So therefore the discussions and the sharing with others are very helpful in that sense. Otherwise, if you are going to get cornered by going to resolve it by yourself, often you will reach the wrong conclusions or inferences, and you will develop kind of a negative feelings towards the teacher, towards the methodology, and towards the meditation center, and all the kind of thing. Today, to present day, most of the books written in meditation are written by people not completed their journey. So therefore, they are coming out with first-hand experience, but it is not constructive. Ultimately, the reader not leading nowhere. There are a lot of information, so it appears it is very first-hand, very good, very honest, but they are not reached the target. So therefore, ultimate it appears like a destructive. That is the very reason the Punnamantani Putta says, I am not living my whole holy life under the Buddha just for this understanding of the way. It's a halfway. It's just a milestone. It's a very important milestone, but this is not the place to stop and entertain or to get back. So this area is really speaking about the serious insight knowledges, but it is often you have to tally with your behavioral pattern. You can say sila, or rather you can say go into the restraining of your faculties. Before that, if someone come and say you to mind your faculties and restrain your faculties, you may rather argue and say why? Because it is no one can force me that I should restrain my faculties. But someone is passing the Magga Jnana Dassana Visuddhi comes to know, unless otherwise we restrain our faculties, develop our moral shame and the moral fear, our morality, the sila itself is at the danger. If that is at danger, definitely the mind is not at peace, no concentration. So then difficult to proceed. But when you come up to this level, you yourself will understand as to what is the least frictional path, so that senses will be fairly under control. So, when someone is understanding the proper balance between the cognitive and cognitive treatments, it is really the starting point of the changing of your personality, changing of your likings and dislikings. Till that you may do, but there is no much of a backing, no much of a practical and direct touch. But here onward, you are ready, you become a certain amount of malleability, adjustability, because you know it is once the defilements came into the stream of consciousness, very difficult to get rid of it. So best thing is, you must have a kind of a guard, not letting the defilements to come in. And second operation must be, whatever the defilements already arisen, you must try to deal with them. So therefore your effort, first thing is to not letting the unarisen defilements to arise. The second one is, you must deal in a fair way towards the already arisen defilements. So, what is guarding so that unarisen defilements not come in is known as virya, or the energy. What is the factor which is dealing with already arisen defilement is known as the sati. So therefore here the virya and the sati, energy and the mindfulness going to go hand in hand, and the mindfulness will send messages, send signals to virya, please tighten your all the security so that suspicious people will not come into the inner the court. Whatever they come in, the virya will go there and check what are the places, just like our immunity system. That immunity system is taking care about the germs inside your bloodstream or within your body. But the hygiene is something about the preventive. Here the preventive and the curative go in hand, so therefore they are onward, whatever you are going to do, any decision you are going to make, whether it is related to your meditation aspect or spiritual aspect or not, whether it is in the sitting or walking or in the day-to-day activity, you will be very, very careful to not allowing the unarisen defilements to arise. So there you have to take care about your relatives or your associates. If someone is ever going to give kind of a friction or bad association, you have to be very tactful to abandon it. But my remark is, if you are too harsh and rough to let the other person knows that you are going to abandon, very, very dangerous. So you have to abandon in such a way, not letting the second party knows that you are in such kind of a thing. That is the art you have to understand. That is the art you have to learn it. So in my case, it took about 8 to 9 years for me to adjust the atmosphere, as I am a layperson even, and there I was so successful. So I thought that I am going for a job, so therefore some kind of a reshuffle of my associates. So at the time I am going to meditative kind of thing. Whatever going to happen, I reconsider and reshuffle the situation. So slowly, very limited, spiritual and uplifted people, you increase the association. All the other unprofitable people, you are not really letting them know, but slowly abandoning is happening. The food also the same. Your postures also the same. And the books that you are reading, the newspapers you are reading, everything indicates how much you are allowing the unarisen defilements to creep into a stream of consciousness. So far you have no any much of a responsibility or the moral responsibility. Now then onward you understand it. So that is how you help promote the efficiency of the mindfulness. So whatever they come into the stream of consciousness, you can take care with the help of the mindfulness. So whenever little bit of desire going to happen, it is not a transgressional kind of desire to kill someone or steal someone or have a sexual misconduct, because it has been guarded already by the moral conduct, and then not up to the Nissarana level, because that will be guarded and controlled by the concentration training. Now at the wisdom training, even then the traces of desire going to arise. For example, whenever the pleasurable feeling going to happen, the underlying tendencies of desire arising. And whenever the painful feelings going to happen, the underlying tendency of the hatred going to happen. But these underlying tendencies are not brutal. They are not very rough, but they have the basic traits. If you let them go, accelerate, they can be obsessional, ultimately will be transgression. So nipping at the bud level is now you can start. And that level, I can give very attractive way how you are dealing with the defilements. Kama, Chanda, Vyapada, or in terms of anusaya kilesas, that means underlying tendencies. But the most important thing is the defilements and the faculties you have to treat in the equal way. I will reiterate it. Just like a desire, you have to consider mindfulness also. You have to understand how to see the beginning of the mindfulness and the end of the mindfulness. But if you are happy that when the mindfulness is setting in, and if you are unhappy when the mindfulness is ceasing, that itself becoming a defilement. So you must develop such a equanimity, just arising of the mindfulness, the improving part of the mindfulness must be equally looked, just like the dwindling part of the mindfulness and the disappearance of the mindfulness. The concentration, the energy, the faith, the wisdom. Otherwise, that cannot be a path. So far, you justified, you are happy that slowly defilements are being abandoned. In terms of moral training, the transgressional kind. In terms of the concentration training, the obsessional kind. Now you are dealing with the underlying tendencies, that is anusaya level. But when that happens, you definitely see whatever may be your endeavorance, sometimes mindfulness go to the zero level. You become so desperate. Whatever the method going to say, mindfulness no more. Sometimes the concentration is completely scattered. And sometimes your faith will be unbearably low. Then sometimes you feel sleepiness, lethargic, the slimy mind, you feel ashamed. And the wisdom also sometimes, despiting you, it is leaving. So there also it become such an agonizing, how can such an advanced yogi, how can he or she deal with the lack of mindfulness, lack of concentration, the lack of faith or energy or wisdom. So that will be a very difficult part, but it's an essential part in the meditation here, that if you all are familiar with the 37 factors of enlightenment, this is the point where the pancha bala, pancha indriya become pancha bala. The 37 factors of enlightenment are enumerated, the 4 foundation of mindfulness, and that means Satra Satipatthana, and Satra Samya Pradhan Virya, Satra Irdhipada, Pancha Bala, Pancha Indriya, Satta Bojjhanga, and Arya Ashtanga Magga. That is 4 foundation of mindfulness, and 4 kind of energies, and 4 kind of achievements, the ways for achievements, and the 5 faculties, and the 5 energies, 7 factors of enlightenment, and 8 factors of the eightfold mindfulness, eightfold path. So, Pancha Bala become Pancha Indriya during that time. That means you are really mastering now. So, by now you have fair amount of mastery regarding the basically the mindfulness and the concentration. But if I am to enumerate all, it is the faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and the wisdom. The mindfulness and the concentration is a very immediate factor. So you expect that is to be with continuously. But that is not the case, because these 5 also under the influence of transience, impermanent. So therefore mindfulness also coming and disappearing. Concentration also coming and disappearing. So most difficult thing for the yogi is to cater into how one should behave when someone is seeing the disappearing part of the mindfulness. the disappearing part of the concentration, the disappearing part of the faith, the disappearing part of the energy, the disappearing part of the wisdom. That is to say, how the Pancha Indriya become Pancha Bala. So very Venerable Sariputta in the Patisambhida Magga very clearly he says, the Indriya become Bala, for example, Sati, Indriya become Sati Bala, Pamade na kampatiti Sati Bala. That for your mindfulness, the steadfast mindfulness, you determine and you try your best to be. But to the mindfulness you can see huge patches. Within that you are unmindful. So how to behave, how to understand it, because now you are not really maximizing the mindfulness in the sitting but walking, but you are now trying in our day-to-day activities also. So sometimes when you are eating, or sometimes when you are listening to a radio, or when you are conversing with someone else, you can understand how much of the amount of effort you are putting forth to maintain the mindfulness as far as you are engaged with the content of what you are eating, the content of what you are talking, the content of what you are listening. These moments indicate that you are not mindful. But immediately you come to know, during this time I am not mindful. That I would say, this is the time the mindfulness is going to take care about the unmindfulness. And generally uninstructed yogis make a point to be regret. Because this is the first time they are really delimiting unmindfulness, the patch of unmindful. Earlier there were enough patches they do not know. But when and where you come to know how much the determination, how much the striving we are going to do, now I see more and more unmindful states. So there also you have to understand, main thing is not to worry. This is the time mindfulness is going to take care about the unmindfulness. So you must understand, each time you become unmindful, there's a kind of a mechanism, a kind of a sixth sense, bring you back to the consciousness or self-consciousness. And there immediately you come to know, the last few thought moments, I was not mindful. So if you are analyzing such a situation, if I am to take an example even in sitting, you are supposed to be with the primary object or with the inner space, and while in there, all of a sudden, some astray thoughts going to start. Here and there drops come, ultimately they become chain thoughts, and whenever they become chain thoughts or train thoughts, you are going to see their content, more and more you are going to see the content, you will be hooked up and you will be taken for a ride. All of a sudden you come to know, now I am in wandering thoughts or daydreaming. So whenever you come to know, there is a mechanism, immediately the shame and the fear rises, and you bring back naturally the attention will come back to the mainstream. So first what happens is mindfulness loses, and then your attention will be offshoot. Exit would have taken without giving a prior notice. Halfway there, you come to know, and immediately you come back to the mindfulness. The first incident that is going from the mindfulness to the outside is, of course, something to be discouraged, something to be worried. But understanding very mindfulness by your own mind is something to be appreciated. And then immediately that will bring back the attention to the mainstream, that also to be appreciated. Therefore, each mistake is a chance for you to have a correction. So, uninstructed mind is always worrying about going outwardly, but if you are sharp enough to see, each going out is a chance for again it to bring back to the mainstream. And if you are to appreciate that coming back to the mainstream, you can't say it is me, it is mine, or it is myself. Because it is not happening with an volition, not with the will. Due to so much of trial and error, naturally whenever the mind becomes self-conscious, and it bring the attention back to the primary object or the mindfulness. So there you will understand each and every incident, there's a reason to be glad. But if you are really analyzing, and that you have to have the thin slicing of the time, and for that the sharpness of the mindfulness is necessary, or on top of that you must have a correct view. So therefore Venerable Sariputta says, Pamadena kampatiti satibalang. Pamade means negligence, lack of mindfulness. But even then, main thing is not to worry. And if you can maintain that unshaking mind, not worrying mind, that is called the power of mindfulness. Not the normal mindfulness, the power of mindfulness. That is how the mind develops the unshaky nature or kind of a equanimity. Even the situation is given chances for the regret or worries or something to be discouraged. Again, if the naturally mind is healing back and come back to the main situation, you must appreciate that and maintain the stream of consciousness unworried. That is how in the Patipada Jnana Dassana Visuddhi level, not only you are understanding the beginning, the middle and the end of the defilements, you are bound to see and you are to be trained to see the beginning, the middle and the end of mindfulness, the beginning, the middle and the end of concentration, the wisdom, the faith, the energy. Because all of them are tatata, the suchness. They are the natural thing. If you are going to call, the going from the mainstream to the astray is bad, and coming from the wandered situation to the mainstream good, these are the thing we are imposing our perceptions, volitional activities, but instead if you can see, this is nature of the mind, sometimes go off from the mainstream, that is also not happening due to your volition or will. And when it is recovering and coming back, that is also, you have only the observer states. You can just see, and if you can consider both equally, that's a kind of a maturity you are developing towards the sankhara upekka. That means the equanimity towards the formations. Equanimity towards the volitional activities and mental formations, and this is the maximum. That means you can observe the phenomena but never get moved, never assume, never recognize it with me or mine or myself. So that is how in the Patipada Jnana Dassana Visuddhi, the mistakes happens, corrections happens, everything you are taking a step back and observe as if someone else. So when that happens, you can't escape from the mindfulness. Whether you are sitting or walking or in the day-to-day activities, wherever you go, you understand there is a mindfulness, at least to say you are correct or wrong, you are in mindfulness or not, you are concentrated or not. So therefore you will at that level you will understand the mindfulness is not a quality that you developed, it is inbuilt. It is intrinsic to the human being. But only at that level you crowning it and try to understand the mindfulness in its full natural state. So therefore you are the one to get the maximum benefit. Mindfulness is also undergoing the changing nature. By your determination, by your hard and fast practice, you can't make a permanent thing. That is very difficult for the yogis, because they usually at the early part of the meditation consider the mindfulness as a totally right, completely correct, the wholesome state of mindfulness, or state of mental factor. But ultimately at that level, you just understand it is just a tool, nothing but a tool. And more than the mindfulness, you will be heavily worried when the concentration is disappearing. But main thing is, or beautiful thing is, when the concentration disappeared, again bound to have a new concentration, that which more powerful than what is lost. That is how it become. They gather the momentum, refine, uplift. So therefore changing nature is a huge opportunity for new thing to arise. So now you can take the mean advantage of this changing nature. Whenever the mindfulness disappears, it's bound to come again, but in a stronger way. So therefore you are happily looking at the end of the mindfulness. Not the beginning, not the middle, end of the mindfulness. So likewise, the value judgment, your likings and disliking, now will be really reconsiderate or reshuffle. So therefore, your mentality is almost like a child. Anything you have to be ready to accept as just the suchness. Only thing you will take care is, don't get involved with volition. Don't get involved with will. And you will see definitely your motivations are already now worn out. But you are in better hands now. Because the path is less and less frictional, it is just going. As if you are a product already on the conveyor belt, the belt will take care. And will do the necessary thing and push out of the factory as the end product. So there, everything is autopiloting, but the vigilance, the observation and the immediacy is becoming very immediate going there. So Dhamma going to be a living Dhamma. You can't write books there. So much of facets. Everything is happening for the betterment as far as you are keep on striving. If you are going to stop and then onward, you will be reaching or going towards the inferences and the decisions, and these decisions are not with full-fledged information. So, Patipada Jnana Dassana Visuddhi, this term Patipada indicates it is not an overnight job, not by one stroke. It's a repetition of the same thing again and again. That is somewhat indicated in the term bhavana. Bhavana means once you come to know beneficial part, you grow it, you cultivate it again and again and again. That is because more and more you cultivate, more and more it ceases to exist. But in incessant way, you give the opportunities, the facilities to grow it again and again. That is how you develop the mastery. And furthering it is the Bahuli Karoti. It will go beyond the limit so that one can say even after the enlightenment, the Buddha meditated. Even after you enlighten as an Arahant, still you can't do but meditate. No one can understand why. Because Dhamma is so tasty. The suchness is so tasty. The tatata. Because you feel like letting everything go and make the full facilities, and you will be a completely neutral observer. So it appears like something like a meditating, but no, there is no meditator there. There is no ego, there is no self, there is no volition, there is no will, but withdraw back to the neutral observer's position, let the panoramic drama to take place. This is how once you understand the path and the non-path, you experiment it again and again. This is called the noble quest or Arya Pariyesana. More and more you refine, you become thorough, but the Buddha explained and proclaimed and discoursed. And even though we understand little in terms of listening to the Dhamma talks and book reading, whenever the Dhamma is manifesting under your very nose, you can have many multifaceted way of explaining the things, and it is rejuvenating you, because it never give a defilement, so there is no friction as such. You can imbibe and penetrate in Dhamma and let it happen. So under such circumstances, you need not to have a Buddha in front of you. You need not to have a qualified teachers in front of you. Just by looking at the the leaves waving under the wave due to the wind. By looking at, you can see Dhamma. By looking at the flowing river, any natural thing, you understand Dhamma is there. But the way is how to communicate it. In order to communicate, you have to completely withdraw the volition, the will. So it's quite a contradictory, appear like very ambiguous. So that very, in a dramatic way being explained, it says that once I have read that the Sigmund Freud, he has mentioned, if you wish to have the complete successful free association, let the patient to speak in a very comfortable position, and you must go to the maximum of your concentration and don't try to respond to what the patient says. But don't let the patient know, do not let the patient to know that you are sleeping. You must be fully aware, but no response. Under such circumstances, the patient will speak and give up catharsis of all their pent-up energies, pent-up emotions, and go to very deep layers, and you must be in the very concentrated than the deep layers, and then the mind-to-mind connection happen. Then you can really experience what the patient going to say. And then what is coming to your mind is the answer for the problem. And he has written, you have to listen as if you are a dumb person. Exactly what the Buddha mentioned. Chakkumase yata ando sotava badiro yata. If you are an eyed person, you must behave as far as the reaction and the unassuming nature is concerned, like a blind person. Even if you are going to listen so much of malice and so much of exaggeration, you have a deaf ear. And immediately when he is writing, his immediate followers has really criticized him, telling that how a professional psychiatrist behave like a dumb person. He must be effectively listening. He must be thinking. He must be rationalizing what the patient is telling. But Sigmund Freud says, each thinking, each rationalization is a turmoil for your mind, and therefore you will never bridge with the patient through this free association, unless otherwise you become completely mindful, listening, but like a deaf. So in the Magga Patipada Jnana Dasana Visuddhi also, you understand that art. Withdraw as much as possible. Let the body to work in the complete body knowledge. Let the phenomena to take place, internal or external, physical or mental, happen it according to its own accord, and you completely aware or completely vigilant and diligent, but don't commit. No commitment in terms of volition, no will. But outsiders will, when someone is observing, appear like you are either in a sleep or not in this world. But theoretically, this is the only moment you are living. All the other moments you are in either past or future, that means dreaming. Being here thinking about other places, that means deranged. Being here you are thinking of other people, that is, you are in a drama. Whenever this gone and you are be here and now, you understand it, this is the only moment you are living. That is why Buddha says, Appamado amatapadam, pamado machuno padam, appamatta miyanti ye pamatta yata mata. Those who are diligent, they knows the way, path to the liberation. Those who are negligent, they never. Appamado amatapadam, pamado machuno padam. Appamattana miyanti. Those who are very diligent, they are heavily living, fully living, so they will never die. Even the other people, the fully negligent, appear like in the go-go show, they will be ever in the carnivals, but they are like dead people. So this, when the Patipada Jnana Dasana Visuddhi happened, these things you learn the art, how to be completely vigilant, completely open, and zero level of reaction, zero level of assuming. and full vigilance. And that is how after you going through this Bhanga Jnana, Bhaya Jnana, Adinava Jnana, you feel like relinquishment. That relinquishment is not a hate to the outside world or to the phenomena. You find how nice that you withdraw everything and living at the eye of the tornado. No friction, lightness. Right round so much of movements, destructive. More and more you come to the middle, you come to the gravityless situation. So that is what it called that munchitu kamyata. Up to that point, if you have any escapism, that is happening due to the hatred, due to the irritation, due to the fault finding, due to the dissatisfaction. But here, that your withdrawal or anything, only the situation is, it is never happened with the hatred, instead based on wisdom. Whenever that change going to take place, you understand you are now really realizing your intrinsic nature or the original form, and to pathway is so difficult because we have to do so much of unlearning, deconditioning. Because this our conditioning we cling into, we recognize our condition as me, mine and the soul, but unless otherwise you understand the path and non-path, there's no alternative for that. The moment you understand the path and the non-path, you have an alternative to the conditioning, so you start striving. And moment you go there, you understand the value of deconditioning, and that is how the Pativipassana means Jnatancha, Jnanancha, Ubbopi Vipassati. You are not only contemplative and penetrative into the object of meditation, the very meditating mind also undergoing the observation. Jnata means the object, Jnana means the meditating mind. Now Jnata, Jnana both become object of meditation. It's very, very difficult to think in the rational way, but more and more you sharpen your weapon, more and more sharpen your instrument, it appears very glittering and glistering, the shiny, but each time you sharp, it wear and tear happens. Your aim is not to wear it off, but sharpening means whether you like it or not, ultimately your instrument wear. Exactly the way when the object is becoming subtle and subtle, you equally observe it without any malice, and when that happens, your very stream of consciousness also undergoing a kind of a discarding, wear and tear going on. And that is how it goes, ultimately end up with this Sankarupeka. Sankarupeka means you understand how to maintain the equanimity toward the whole phenomena, or usually it called toward the volition, toward the will. So withdraw it, and when come up to that level, it says that you are now at the brim, the understanding is qualified either to jump into the other side or live in this side. That means you are at the edge of the diving pad on the swimming pool, or if you wish, you can jump into the pool, or you can come back to the shore. So likewise, when you come there, you feel everything is jerky and spring-like. So those who have very big the aspiration or determination to become the future Buddha or that kind of thing, they will be stopping at that level. If you do not have that kind of a special determination or motivation, it's become a accident. At the time you jump into the other side, or even if you come back to the shore, your efficiency is there. The example is given in the traditional example, the commentary example is, early times there was no navigators, and when the sea going ships, deep sea going ships are there, so sometimes they are undergoing meeting up with difficult situations, storms and kind of thing, ultimately they have to deroute and go to the close by place, but they don't know what is the most close by dry land. Under such circumstances, they bring a crow, a bird, in the ship, and whenever the captain do not know where the close by dry land or island, they release the crow. The crow has been already caught up in the cage, so soon it release, it jump into the air and find a place, dry land, to go there. If there is a close by one, definitely it will fly in the shortest way to the dry land, and then the captain come to know that is the way the closest to the dry land. So likewise the mind is in such a way, if the Nibbana is at the vicinity, it will jump. Otherwise, and it will roam around and nothing to see, again come and rest on the same pole of the ship. Likewise mind will come back or go there. That is called Sankharupeka. That is the most refined form of the mind, which is unmoved by the external phenomena, and situation is completely depend on the internal situation, and that is the end of this Jnana Dassana Visuddhi, Patipada Jnana Dassana Visuddhi, and there is no time period, there is no linear method, but repetitive application of the same, and that is how you polish the furniture. After everything, you keep on polishing, and then only you apply the varnish and kind of thing. So this polishing has to happen, so much of polishing, as much as polishing is going to add value to the furniture. So therefore, this is the area where mostly things are happening rather than doing, but anyway little bit of monitoring is there in the theoretical sense, and if you know it, you will entertain the meditation as a hobby rather than regimentation. But if you have a result-oriented kind of thing, still you will strive and the fight with, and it will become a little bit difficult and inflicting pain. So those who experience, they never rush for decision. The results, keep on practicing the same thing, and refinement going to happen. Therefore it is called Patipada Jnana Dassana Visuddhi, but that by itself it is not the end. It has to go into the next stage, or till that you are not going to give up. That is why Venerable Punnamanthanaputta says, even though this knowledge is very highly recommended and highly uplifting, very valuable, but this is not the final. So till you come to the final, you must not be contented with the intermediate stage. So therefore the answer he gives to Venerable Sariputta is negative one. This is not his destiny. So the yogis also must take the message from that and keep on practicing. It is kind of in a rather way, rather it is a mastery, seasoning the same. So that's all I thought of sharing for today's Dhamma talk. Thank you very much for listening.